Hi everybody, welcome back to Zoo School Live. Happy Tuesday! My name is Educator Marisa and we are going to be hanging out with some of our creepy crawly friends here at the zoo. So welcome. And I'm going to go ahead and turn my camera around here so that way we can see my friends. Oh, here we go. Alrighty, so I have Miss Rosie here, is just waking up and coming out. Alrighty. Alright, good morning, Rosie. Come on out. Hello. Alright, guys, good morning. Thanks for joining me here today. Welcome. What are you crawling on the ceiling for, you crazy lady? Yeah, see, I'm a little too heavy to be crawling on the ceiling like that, huh? There she is. Alrighty, guys. There she goes. Perfect. She just needed a hand. Well, welcome, guys. Welcome to Zoo School Live today. Thanks for joining me as we get Rosie all out and comfortable. Oh my goodness, look at how cute she is. Now, some of you may not be thinking cute is your first word of choice, but I'm here to tell you a little bit about Rosie. And Rosie is a Chilean rose-haired tarantula. And she is just going to be doing a little bit of exploring today. I have basically just this lovely exercise kind of bin for her to hang out in today. So this is not her usual home, but her usual home looks something like this. It's got all kinds of fun things for her to climb on and move around in, and great things for her to kind of hide and camouflage. And you can see right now, Rosie is just doing an amazing job of camouflaging. Now, when we're talking about animals, there's kind of two types of animals when we're talking about camouflage, right? There's animals kind of like a chameleon that are able to blend into their surroundings by changing their color, or even an animal like the Arctic fox, who actually has a winter coat and a summer coat, and those coats are actually different colors to help them better blend in or camouflage with their surroundings depending on the appropriate time of year. But then you have animals like Rosie. And these animals are animals that are not going to need to blend into their surroundings by changing colors, right? I mean, take a look at her. She is almost, if you guys just tuned on, you might not even be able to see her when she's staying super still like that, because she is so expertly amazing at blending into her surroundings. And she's going to utilize that coloration to help her find her food. And so we're going to watch her kind of moving around here a little bit, and you're going to watch her as she's using her pedipalps, which are they're kind of right here area, and you're going to watch as she's going to use her front legs and those pedipalps, which kind of look like extra legs almost. If you counted all of her legs up, you might accidentally count her two pedipalps. And she's going to use them to feel around and help her explore her environment. You can see how she's using her legs to gently touching them out before she puts her weight on them. So tarantulas are pretty dense, right? They're not quite as lightweight as as certain types of spiders, right? These guys tend to be a little more what we would call robust, right? She's going to be utilizing those feelers to make sure that the ground or whatever she's climbing on is going to be not only stable enough to hold her, right, but also just to make sure that the ground itself is stable in general. So we're going to just watch her kind of cruise around here, and you can just see how she's kind of using all of those limbs that she has just to help her feel things out, to help her support her body here. And just so you know, that this is just a fake spider on this side. So she's not She's not looking to go hang out with this guy. He's just a toy that we're gonna take a look at in just a little bit. But for just a moment, we're gonna watch Rosie just kind of exploring, and that's maybe because today we're talking about invertebrates. Now, for those of you who didn't catch it in the beginning, my name is Educator Marisa, and Educator Marisa is a little bit nervous about her arachnids, but I have come to really enjoy hanging out with my friend Rosie here. And you know, a lot of you might have similar stories. Maybe some of you are a little bit nervous about spiders, and that is totally okay. And because, you know, we're going to learn a little bit about her today, and maybe we'll get to maybe build a little bit of fondness for my friend Rosie here, even if you might not end up liking her by the end. Maybe have kind of a respect for her. So I just love to watch her move around, and that might be something that might be a little nerve-wracking for you if you're at home and a little bit nervous about spiders. Maybe it's the movement that makes you nervous, or the fact that they could be venomous, right? But Rosie here, she's really only moving in that way because she's really exploring, right? She's using her legs to feel around and to really, explore and adventure in her area, right? We just put her in this new little, this is kind of like a playpen for her. So she's just checking it out, finding out where her favorite spot might be. And Rosie here has terrible eyesight, so she's not going to be able to look around and see what's going on. She's going to be really relying on feeling her way around. So she's going to experience the world a lot different than we are. So as you can imagine, you know, a lot of times you might hear, oh, that spider, you're a lot bigger than it, right? They're probably way more scared of you than you are of them. And that might be totally true, but the reality is that Rosie here does not know if you are friend or foe. And that's because she can't tell. She can't see you, right? So she does have eyes, and we'll see if we can get up closer a little bit here and see if we can see some of those eyes, or at least where her eyes are. They're located kind of here, since she's on the move again. Here we go. Hold on. All right, so they're located kind of right here on the very top of her head, and so they're located right there. And there's about 8 of them, all kind of clumped together there. 8 eyeballs, but despite having a lot of eyeballs, she's really not able to see very well with them. So she's going to totally rely on her other senses, right? And some of those other senses are feeling, right? Now, being a Chilean rose-haired tarantula, these guys are from South America, as are a lot of tarantula species. Now, you know, these guys are going to be found in really dry areas. So there won't really find her particularly in a rainforest environment. And, you know, she's going to find a comfy spot to kind of relax. And, I mean, now she's having just a great time roaming around. But, you know, for the most part, she's going to spend her time kind of staying nice and still. So you can see here that she's camouflaging pretty well into this sandy area as well. So not only did she blend in really well with kind of some of these logs that we had, but she also is able to kind of camouflage without changing her color into other environments and habitats as well. Now, what Rosie's going to do is she's going to be what we call an ambush predator. So she's not going to be booking it, trying to hunt down her prey like, for example, a cheetah might. Instead, she's just going to sit and wait and hope that something, another invertebrate, you know, another animal without a backbone is going to come over and crawl in front of her, and that she's going to try to munch that critter up, right? And she's really going to be hunting for some small insects. Here at the zoo, Rosie's favorite snack is actually just crickets. And she loves crickets, and she only eats about 1 every other day. And she's not going to eat a whole bunch. And, you know, a lot of people are nervous about spiders because they might be very venomous, right? And although my friend Rosie here definitely does have venom, if she were to get nervous and bite me, which is really the only reason why she would get nervous, right? She's not taste testing me, right? It was only if she were to feel very unsafe and wanted to be put down, right? And so if she were to bite, right, it would probably hurt. I mean, I wouldn't say it would feel good at all. But the reality is that I wouldn't get super sick from it or anything. You know, I might get a little bit of a welt, but these guys are not deadly to humans, even though they are pretty big. They're actually really not super dangerous to larger mammals like us as humans. They are super dangerous to small invertebrates like crickets, but that's what they eat, right? So they need to be well equipped for that. Now, there are certain spiders that are very dangerous to people, right? And you should definitely be aware of where spiders are. But the reality is that a spider is not going to bite you because they just look at you and go, I think I want to bite that human today. The reality is that most of the time, a spider is going to be biting you because they feel very scared or nervous, right? They're not like ticks where they rely on, you know, your blood as a human to help them out, right? Or ticks really rely on human blood to continue to live, right? But a spider is not biting you because they want to suck your blood, right? Instead, they really just are probably feeling nervous or trapped, and that's why they're biting you, whether they're, you know, maybe stuck in your sock or you put your hand into their area, right? That's where they might feel a little more in danger. But the reality is that most of the spiders that we have here in Pennsylvania don't look like Rosie here. We don't have tarantulas here in Pennsylvania. We do have wolf spiders, which can look a little furry and can look quite large. But these guys, those guys are, you know, really not super dangerous to people. Will you get a welt from it? Potentially. Will it hurt? Definitely. Will you die from it? Probably not. So it's best, just like any other wildlife, to give that animal space, right? Now, I do have some things to show you guys real quick. So as Rosie continues just to cruise around, and you can see she's using those little pedipalps just to feel her way around. Oh my goodness, so cute. So now here I have this big wide circle, right? And this is just to give you an idea of about the size of Rosie. This is actually much larger than Rosie, and we can see in comparison here. You can see it's about twice as big as my friend Rosie here is. But this circle is to demonstrate the leg span of the largest spider on the planet, which is the Goliath bird-eating tarantula. And that was originally found in Venezuela. It had an 11-inch span. So this is, I've got pretty big hands, but just so you know, this is about a human hand in comparison, and this is about 2 times that of Rosie. So you can see that in comparison to my friend Rosie here, who is just so small, that these guys are pretty large, right? And they are native to South America in particular. And they're the largest species, right? They're pretty dense, they're pretty large. But this particular tarantula that had this large leg span was at about 11 inches. It was recorded in 1965. And the chances of finding another tarantula this big, first of all, unless you're roaming around Venezuela, you might not see these guys in general. But also, you know, we do know that there's been a lot of habitat loss happening in South America, right? So where these guys are native to, there's a good chance that their habitat that was found here originally in 1965, when we had first found this individual, which was a male Goliath bird-eating tarantula, that those conditions might not exist anymore for him to get quite this big, which is, you know, might be a yay moment for some of you, going, well, thank goodness there's nothing that large walking around this earth, right? But it's can be really a bummer for a lot of wildlife, right? Because not only do tarantulas eat up a lot of insects, but a lot of things eat them. I mean, they're called bird-eating tarantulas, but the reality is that a Goliath bird eater is not really going to be eating a whole lot of birds. They, just like Rosie, are going to be eating mostly other invertebrates, right? Or animals that lack a backbone and are covered in an exoskeleton. Now, the smallest ever recorded spider, for reference here, is this little dot here. And this is magnified to scale because this is probably about 2 to 3 millimeters. And the reality is that this Patu digua was recorded at 0.37 millimeters. And for reference, that is 1/5 the size of the head of a pin. So a very, very small little spider. That is the smallest, also found in South America. Now, our our arachnid friends are very distinguishable by their 8 legs instead of 6, and their 2 main body parts. But we have spiders and tarantulas all over the world, and they play a really important role for their environment. So even if you might be a little bit nervous about tarantulas or spiders, maybe just look at them from afar or try to avoid them, or maybe try to rehome that spider that you might have in your area, because these guys do play a really important role in eating up all sorts of insects that might carry diseases. We know that even though some tarantulas and spiders might be venomous, right, it might be dangerous to people, they aren't really known to carry any diseases, which is pretty awesome for people. Now, Rosie isn't the only invertebrate that I brought out with me today. I actually brought another friend out, which might make some of you also a little nervous, but he's just hanging out over here in this little corner of this dig box that I gave him. And this here is a Madagascar hissing cockroach. So another invertebrate. These guys do not have a backbone, no bones in their body, but in fact they are covered in a really bony exoskeleton. Now we're going to do a little bit of comparing and contrasting here, because if you take a look at my friend who's hanging out in this corner here, you can see that he is pretty smooth and has some cool banding, some cool colors there, quite segmented. He does have 3 body parts, 6 legs, the classic insect. And there he's kind of shiny. And if you take a look at my friend Rosie over here, we come back, pan over to her, you can see that she is pretty furry and fluffy, right? And that is her defense against predators, because she's going to utilize those hairs, which we call urticating hairs, to help her avoid predators. And what she's going to do is she's going to use these back legs that she's got over here. Oh, too far. These back legs that are closest to her abdomen, and she's going to rub them on that thicker part of her body that you can see is quite furry. And what's going to happen is when she rubs those legs against that part of her body, it's going to flick the hairs into the air. And those hairs can be very irritating. They're almost like little tiny fiberglass hairs. So they could get up in your nose or in your eyeballs, and that could really cause some serious discomfort, especially if you're an animal that's going to eat her with your mouth, right? That's going to go right into your nose, right into your eyes, and maybe in your mouth, and that's going to be very uncomfortable. So she's hoping that you're going to get one kind of whiff of those hairs and you're going to boogie out of there, right? She's like, she's really going to hope that you're not going to stick around to try to eat her after that. But over here, you can see that my cockroach friend does not have any of those hairs, and instead he has a little bit of a noisier defense. And we're going to see, I'm going to try to scoop him up and see if you can hear him. And hopefully you can hear that. Whoops, sorry, buddy. And hopefully you can hear that hissing noise. Oh, he's still pretty mad. Sorry, bud. So he's going to make that hissing noise because he is hoping, just like my friend Rosie, that you are going to hear that hissing noise and you're going to be like, no way am I going to stick around to see what that is. Because chances are it might be a snake, right? We know about other animals that like to hiss, and they tend to be snakes, right? So just like if you were a bird swooping in for a snack and you heard tss, right, you'd probably turn around and fly the other way, right? No way am I going to eat that thing today. And so my cockroach friend is definitely going to hope that you are going to heed his warning and not eat him today. Maybe let him live for one more day, right? Now, these guys they don't really have, they're not using their mouths to make that noise. Instead, a cockroach actually has these small kind of holes on the side of their exoskeleton called spiracles, and they're going to push air across those spiracles and make that noise, that hissing noise, to help scare away predators, which is pretty awesome. Now, Madagascar hissing cockroaches are non-flighted. They do not have any wings. They're just going to kind of roam around on the forest floor. And where these guys are from, they are from kind of a rainforest area in Madagascar. They live on the forest floor, mostly under logs or debris in the forest because they are decomposers. And just like my friend Rosie plays a really important role in her ecosystem and her environment, so does this friend here, this Madagascar hissing cockroach named Caramel. And Caramel here is going to really do a wonder for the forest floor. They're going to eat up all kinds of detritus, which is, debris on the forest floor, things like these leaves that you can see in the picture, and other organic material. They're going to break that down and turn it into really nutrient-rich soil for the trees to grow bigger. So, any large, beautiful rainforest tree, you can thank cockroaches and other, decomposers for, because they are doing an important job of breaking up all of that organic material and munching up that and turning it into something that's viable for other plants and trees and animals to utilize. So cockroaches are really awesome. If you see one scuttling around in your kitchen, maybe not the best, but Madagascar hissing cockroaches are, native to a really forested area. And most cockroaches really are just looking for a snack, right? They're looking for something to eat. And these guys are mostly going to be eating decomposing things, this particular species of cockroach. Now, invertebrates, right, are super diverse. So you can see we have an insect here in our hissing cockroach friend and an arachnid over here with Rosie. And they are a little bit the same, but a little bit different. We know that Rosie has 8 legs and our cockroach friend here only has 6, right? Insects have 3 body parts, whereas our friend Rosie here only has 2 main body parts that you can see there, kind of the 2 big chunks. And she's got that cephalothorax and abdomen area, right? Whereas our friend the cockroach is going to have instead a thorax, head, and abdomen. So those 3 spots. Now, both of them will molt off their exoskeleton to grow bigger. And in fact, whereas Rosie will continue to molt every so often, she's going to live into her 20s, so she's got a lot of life ahead of her, this lady. I can't remember exactly how old she is right now, but she's still fairly young. But she'll live into her 20s, which is very exciting, whereas my cockroach friend here's probably only going to live about 5 to 6 years. And these guys will molt approximately 6 times before they become an adult cockroach. And then once they reach adulthood, they just kind of stop molting. Whereas Rosie here will continue to molt as she grows older and larger. But she won't molt very frequently. And I actually have a molt over here to show you guys. And the cool thing about tarantulas is that they can even regrow internal body parts when they molt, which is awesome. Now this here is a molt, and you can see that this is only about half of one, just from the legs. This is actually from another tarantula that we have here named Nightmare, and she's a little bit larger than Rosie, but you can kind of see the inside there, all those little holes. That's going to allow them to pull their legs out of this old molt. And that new exoskeleton underneath is going to be fully formed under there. But you can see that they just kind of pull them, just like a shirt sleeve almost. They're going to pull their arms out of those little sleeves, those little holes. And how they're going to do this is Rosie's actually going to turn herself all the way upside down. And she is going to just push out of that old molt and come out of the bottom. So it's a little disconcerting when we go in there and see her turned upside down like that, kind of all crinkled up. But then she'll come out of that old molt and she'll have just this nice, beautiful new molt, this new exoskeleton on when she comes out of that area. Which is pretty awesome. And that's how she's going to stay nice and healthy, right? And, get off any old debris or mites that she might have. And it's really going to allow her to stay a really healthy tarantula. Now I'm going to go through real quick and see if you guys had any questions. Remember, if you guys have any questions today, feel free to put them in the comments, and I will try my best to answer them. All right, let's see. Oh, so many people watching today. It's really great. Thanks for tuning in for Zoo School today, guys. And remember, if you ever want to go back and watch any of our old Zoo School lives, they're all on YouTube on our Elmwood Park Zoo channel, so you guys can always rewatch old episodes or see one that you may have missed. We have been through around all of the animals in the zoo just about and made videos about each one of them, which is super awesome. All right, let's see. Looks like I don't really have any questions today, guys. Well, thanks for tuning in regardless. I really appreciate it. It was nice having you join me today while we talked a little bit about our tarantula friends. Oh, Alexis says, very beautiful tarantula. Thank you very much, Alexis. I think she's quite the lovely tarantula as well. Oh, and Lee says fuzzy. Yes, she is pretty fuzzy. Oh, and Shannon, good morning. Good morning to you. Naomi loves spiders. Excellent. Great to hear it. I was not always a spider lover myself, but you know what? I've learned a lot working with Rosie and learned to really appreciate how amazing they are, which is pretty cool. All right, guys. Well, thanks so much for watching. I think that that's just about it for today. But again, thanks for joining me on another episode of Zoo School Live. And I hope you guys have just a wonderful rest of your day. Looks like we're having some just gorgeous weather this week. So I hope you guys get outside, maybe see if you can spot some invertebrates in your area and take a peek and maybe try to learn something new. Thanks so much, guys, and have a wonderful rest of your day. Goodbye, friends.